So hi everyone, it's good to be back again in a new episode in the series Modern Data Stack. So building modern data stack with the architecture that we end-to-end architecture that we introduced to us to in the first introductory videos. So in this particular episode, we're gonna discuss uh, installing Airbyte and Airflow, and within the Airflow image, we are installing both Great Expectation and DBT, and also create the GitHub repo for this project. So that's what we're going to be doing in this episode now, right? So we have been following the video from the onset. We've done some processes, and I believe that you probably have done them too. So we're just gonna continue from there. So in order to do this, we ensure that your Docker is running already, right? So if you're using Windows, just start with your Docker desktop. If you're using Mac, also the similar way. So this is Docker desktop. Just type Docker, and it's the Docker desktop. Just open it up, and is going to start the engine by itself, right? Just to ensure that your Docker is running, you can just do Docker PS, and it should bring up like a header like this, something like this, right? And if some containers are already running, then you see something else underneath all these headers, right? So I'm going to use the documentation that I shared in the first episode that came out, right? If you check the video description, you see the documentation. That's what I'm using, and probably add some details. So I'm using Windows for this demonstration. If you're using MacBook, you can also follow along, right? You're going to get insights on what we're doing here, right? So for Windows, I'm going to change directly to the C drive, right? I want the instruction to be done on C drive, right? For Mac user, when you open your terminal, you don't have to see the tool. You just do it right in that directory that your terminal is. It's going to be something like user slash your username, maybe uh James.Smith, something like that. You can just do everything there, right? You don't have to see it to a particular root folder, right? So uh then installing Airbyte, right? So we want to do everything via VS Code. So uh, do I'm gonna open VS Code from this directory, from this C drive. Just type code, full stop, right? If you are using Mac, this might not directly work for you. It might work if you have set it up before, but if it does not, if you don't have this set up, you just hold on. I'm gonna probably tell you how to do that. So I'll open code, the VS Code from this directory, so that this VS Code is opening from C drive. Then I'll open terminal, a git bash terminal. That will start git bash. I'm going to open the git bash terminal from here. So I think I have some bash terminal open already here. So if you are on Mac and you want your VS Code to open from terminal, you can come here. If it does not work at first, you can come to this menu here, click on it, and go to show and run command. I think yeah, this command Control Shift P is going to be another shortcut for Mac users. So come here and scroll down to something like install code in parts, something like that. Install code in parts. So if I scroll down, you see something like this. Install code in parts. I don't know whether it will be available for Windows users, but for Mac users, you see something like that, like install code in parts. Yeah, I don't think it's available for Windows user. So under I, you see something like install code in parts. Then you can, when you see that, then just click on it like this. Let's say this is the install code in part. Just click on it, and it will apply the distance. And you can probably close your VS Code, open a new terminal, and do that code full stop. That it should now work, right? So that's that. So in order to install Airbyte, we've already opened a bash terminal from VS Code. So let's go to our documentation. You see this command, this git clone, blah blah blah. Just copy it and come to the terminal here and paste like this and enter. I'm not going to do this because what it's going to do is it's going to uh, clone a GitHub repo into your directory and create like a folder called Airbyte. I already have that, as you can see it here, under my C drive. I have the Airbyte folder, so I don't need to do this again. So I'm gonna remove this. After that clone works successfully, then you do cd Airbyte. Right now, if for one reason the clone does not work, I would advise that you do this on your personal if you have a personal computer, you do it on your personal computer instead of your work computer, because you might have some kind of networks configuration because of network security that's been set up on your work computer and might be blocking some of these things that you want to do, right? So I think I would just, because I don't have insights into what you're doing and those blockers, I won't be able to help you, right? So I don't know what is going to block you. So you just use your personal computer. Then if you can cd to your Airbyte, you've cloned cd to Airbyte, then the next command to run is this command here, right? So you copy, you paste. So this command is going to run a bash script, which is already downloaded when you clone the Airbyte. This thing is going to be inside within your Airbyte folder already. This run abplatform.sh. You scroll down in that folder, you see it, this guy. So it means I want to run the script within that Airbyte directory. By the time you run this, it will download the necessary images and spin up the Airbyte container for you, right? So then when you now do a docker ps, this terminal is going to be quite busy when you are running that command. So you might not be able to do docker ps within that same terminal. So you can open a new terminal, right? So I have a second terminal here and do a docker ps and see whether those services are running, right? You will see Airbyte something, 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 right? A lot of a couple of services that will be running and show status running, right? And you can then access Airbyte from your web. So let's assume that you you already established everything, you've started up the services and stuff like that, and you want to stop the service. You can just do a docker compose. You have to be doing this within the Airbyte directory, right? So you want to stop the Airbyte services that are running. So yeah, say docker compose stop. You do docker compose stop, then it's going to stop those services. It's going to stop. Then all of those services that are attached to Airbyte, as you can see here, it's going to stop it. I don't have anything before that is running, so it does not matter. So it will stop. So if your services are running, it's going to stop it this way. It's going to show it stays as stop and everything's going to be stopped. Then if you want to work on Airbyte again, similarly, you just do docker compose start. Then if I do docker compose start now, I have the Airbyte container already on my Docker, so it's going to start it now. So it's starting. Going to get started. So this one started. So still trying to start other containers. So just wait. Few minutes is going to get started in no time. If you come to this second time now, do docker ps, you see that you no longer see just headers, you see some services. So you can see you have three services that are started, right? Airbyte bootloader, Airbyte temporary, Airbyte db, just because this guy is starting here, right? So some other services are also starting. So let's see. All right, so it kind of have started like everything. So let's go to second time now, do a docker ps again, and you see a lot of services running already, right? It's interesting. So most importantly, your server, your web app, your DB, your worker are already running, right? So it's, you can see status up 13 seconds, up for 19 seconds, up about a minute, everything is up. So you can then open, let's open Chrome, like open a browser or something, does not matter, doesn't have to be Chrome. So let's open a browser and go and do localhost, localhost colon 80, I think 8088, sorry, 8080, I think 8080 is airflow, 8000. So localhost colon 8000, run it. It's going to ask you for username. Your username is going to be Airbyte. Your password is going to be password. Just type password and sign in. You can change this in your settings for your within Airbyte, but we can look at that later. So sign in, then it should open up like this. So you see something like this: Airbyte, connections, sources, destinations, builder, settings, blah blah blah. So this means that you have successfully uh, provisioned Airbyte on Docker. Right, interesting. So that's good. So these are the connections that I've created, right, while working on it. You have sources, right? You have sources here. You create new source. There are a lot of sources here. These are the sources that I've created. You want to create a new one, click on new source, and you will see a lot of connectors. These are a lot of connectors that we can connect to Airtable, Adjust, AHA, Aircore, Amazon ADS, like a lot of it, right? A lot that you can think of. So let's say my source is Postgres. I can just write for Postgres here. It's a Postgres source, right? And etc. etc. Similarly, you can create destinations, new destination. You see a lot of connectors that you can connect to. Select those, then or configuration. Those are the three important things: connection, sources, destinations. All of these ones, uh, that's something that you probably, when you get into it, you want to build your own connector, right? And settings is just setting up your profile and stuff like that. So, but the most important thing is connection, sources, and destination. All right. So I can change from dark mode to light mode if you want. That's that on Airbyte. So when you get to this stage, it means that you have successfully provisioned Airbyte on Docker, which is fantastic. So now let's move to the next thing in line. Now, let me go back to this terminal. And we want to now do Airflow, right? So let's go about doing this way. So I'll go to the terminal again. I'll open a new VS Code from C drive. I can do it from that same VS Code. I just want to have it this way, right? So code full stop, open a new. So you have, oh, it's going to open in this way. Sorry, it's because this guy is already open from C drive, so just overwrite that. Anyway, let's work with this. So we already using this one to do Docker PS. Let's open a fresh terminal. That's totally fine. So we are going to now do something to do Airflow. Let's go back to the documentation. So you you want to create Airflow directory. If you look at this one, this documentation, you first of all create a Airflow directory, then seed into Airflow before opening VS Code. The same way I can do that within uh, VS Code, right? So I can do mkdir, that is make directory Airflow. I create a directory called Airflow within C drive. I already have that directory. I don't have to do that again. Right? This is the directory Airflow. This is this guy, as you can see. So I don't need to run this I don't need to run this command. After I've done this, you have done that, cd into that directory called Airflow. So if you're in that Airflow directory, what you now need to do is this. You see this command, you need to run this command here, like this, before everything before the hash symbol here, right? So copy it, then come to the terminal, then run this command. What this one does is that it's going to download the Docker Composer YAML file for Airflow 2.8.4 version. Now you run it. I don't have to run it because I have this already. When you run it, it downloads that Docker Composer YAML file, as I said, and inside this airflow directory, you see this file. This is just going to be the only file that you have, this Docker Composer YAML file. Now we now need to make some edits to this and do some additional things. So okay, you can go. So we need to make some edits. First of all, let's edit the file and scroll down to this line where we have build. It will be commented out by default, right? It's going to be commented out by default. I feel like I should just do this from scratch so that you guys can follow. I should just continue this way. So it's going to be commented out as default. You can see this line 53 the way it is here, right? Then this is how it should now be after you make the edit. You remove this hash symbol and it's going to be like this part here, right? Then after you've done that, let me show you in VS Code here. See, here, this guy, there's going to be a hash symbol to comment it out. You are going to remove that hash symbol and let it be like this. And there's a reason we want to do that because we want to build our image by including a additional file called a Docker file, right? So after that, we are going to modify these volumes section of your Docker Composer YAML file, right? You will have these lines by default automatically for your Airflow configuration. Now we want to add additional parts to it to include where we want to put in our DBT project and our good experimentation project, right? Then this last part is where we kind of put in uh, to map our DBT profiles part to the Docker part. Now this is, you see this you know the way these lines are written, there is like a colon separating them. You know, to the left of that colon is your local part. To the right of that colon is your Docker volume part, like more like a file explorer in your Docker. So that's a part in your Docker. So it means that you are mapping this local part to the left to your Docker part on the right. So that if you are making development on your local, that is what you want your Docker to use if running anything, right? So just go back to the configuration here. So under volumes, as I said, this is what you're going to see. Then we are going to add this part, these three parts. So what you just need to include just this these two are kind of uh self you don't need to do anything to get this done. Just put it this way, right? Then this part, it's dependent, it's now specific to your own system. And the reason is that on my end, I have C/users. My own user is called ThinkBook14. Your own user will be different. And this .dbt might not exist particularly on your own computer yet because you have not but you can confirm you have not initialized the DBT project, so you will not have this part sitting under your user. So in order to have this part sitting under your user, or just put it this way first, just put your C/users, then your own username, the user on your laptop. Mine is thinkbook14. Yours can be your own name initial, like John.Smith or something like that, or administrator, depending on the user that you're working with, right? So you modify it that way and put .dbt. Then all these other parts, leave it them by default this way. So, and we're going to come about how you get to have this part on your local. We're going to get about that real soon. So after you've added this, what next do you need to add? You've added this part. So let's create additional files called .env and docker file in the Airflow directory. So how you can do that is come to your VS Code again. Under this Airflow folder, you want to create two files. This one, this guy here, and this guy, these two guys. .env and docker file. You want to create them. So you don't have them yet. See all these folders, so you don't have them. This config, dags, dbt, ge, logs, plugins, you don't have them now, right? So you don't have to bother yourself that why is it different? You don't have them now because I've done this before. So now what you do, you want to create these two files, .env and docker file. So you can click on this Airflow and like this, make sure it's selected like this. That is the folder Airflow. And you see this parts, this corner here. The first one is what new file, the second one is what new folder. You click on this new file and create a file called .env, right? I already have this file exist, so I don't have to create it again. So you just enter to create that file. Also for the second one, just do docker file. The, the the format must be the same. Like it must start with capital D, just we have named it. It cannot be lower D. You can see it automatically identifies the file. You can see the Docker logo beside it. So then you enter. You've created those two files that way. Now you now put this inside your environment variable, these two configuration. This might not be necessary. This second one might not be necessary, but this first one is just like to ignore some warnings and stuff like that. Might not be able really important. Just put it. Now this part, this is because I have uh Windows subsystem for Linux as WSL. If you have WSL, if you come to this terminal here, this you see this option Ubuntu WSL. If you have Ubuntu installed and Windows subsystem for Linux, you have that WSL here. And this would be ideal, right? It will make sense, but you can just put only this one and just ignore this if you don't have that. But you should have, by default, if you have WSL automatically install when you're doing your Docker, because you have to like uh install it in order for your Docker to work correctly. So after you've done that, go to your Docker file. That'll be the next thing here. We're going to populate it with these details here. And then I'm just going to like give you like a run through, right, on a high level. So in this my documentation, you have what you have to put inside that Docker file. So for DMV, just add this text. As I said, just add this text. You can see that I only included this first one. You don't have to put that second one, right? For the Docker file, add this text. So you copy all of these lines like this up to this place. To this place. I think that's no. It's still there's still more up to this last one. I already commented out some things that are not necessary. Up to this last point, just copy it from here like this and copy it down and ensure that it's formatted just the way it's formatted here, because by the time you copy and paste it, the arrangement might just scatter. Just ensure that everything aligns, and you can paste it on a notebook or a notepad before coming to paste it here, and just make sure that it's arranged. So what we are doing here is that from this image, this Airflow 2.8.4 image, using Python 3.10 as the base Python for this installation. Python is built on Airflow is built on top of Python. So this part, I'm not even using it. You can even comment it out, right? I'm adding this requirements.txt file. I'm not even using it. I'm installing it directly from the web, right? So then this part, using the root user, I'm going to run this update and install, right, on the image, right? Then after I've done this to this level, I will now use the Airflow user to do the rest. Yeah, this part is not even needed. you can ignore this part. This is just going to generate a uh, WSL IP as an environment variable. I was using it for something before, but it's not relevant. Uh, then all of these parts, just setting environment variables that I'm going to be using, right? You can see I set a constraint URL, which is going to download the requirements for the installation. Then this is part I'm installing Apache Airflow together with some dependencies, Postgres, Google, CNCF, Kubernetes, Snowflake, Airbyte. I'm using Snowflake, so Airbyte. Google, if you're using Google BigQuery, this is important also. Then specifying the Airflow version that we want to run, which it's already an environment variable. Then the constraints, using the constraint URL, this variable that I set here, I'm using that as the dependencies to the requirement to install this uh, library Airflow. Right after that, I want to install this. So this way I'm installing my DBT and other adapters. You can remove Redshift since you are not using Redshift. I don't think we are going to be using Postgres, or if you want to use Postgres as your warehouse, you can do this, right? Or you can just leave it. It does not change anything. And this way we are installing the good expectations, also good expectation provider for Airflow. So we want to also use that to ensure that our good expectation checkpoint is well organized. Like when time we visualize an Airflow, it shows up like an a DAG, directed acyclic graph, right? Okay, downloading DBT Cosmos, right, in order to also encapsulate our DBT project, so it just shows up as a directed acyclic graph also. That's also important. Then using a root user, we want to create some directories within the Docker environment so that all these directory will now make sense because of the mapping that we are doing inside our Docker Compose to YAML file. You will see that I was mapping some folders. So these are these folders I created that I want to map them. For example, this opt airflow /ge. If you go to Docker Compose YAML file, you can see this directory which I'm mapping to my local here. Right. So that is that. I think that will be all. If you have put the Docker file, that will be all. So after you've done that and you've opened a terminal on VS Code, you've cd to Airflow, you have to ensure that you're in Airflow directory, and you have already done those configuration, created those files, formatted it just to set it. Then the next thing you should do is to now start up Airflow services. What you need to do is the Docker, since you're doing this for the first time, Docker compose up. You just do Docker compose up, right? Since you are in the Airflow directly and there is an existing Docker compose YAML file, Docker compose up, then I want to build the image using this Docker file. And now say dash dash build. Docker compose dash dash build, so that it also uses this Docker file to build up the services. So by the time you do this, it's going to start downloading images and spin up containers, and it's going to take a while, right? So that will download those images, start up your services, containers start running, right? And by the time this terminal will also get busy, right? So if you want to ensure that your services are already running, you can come to this bash, the bash terminal that is not busy, just do a docker ps, and you see those services. Right? These are Airbyte services that I started. You see for Airflow also. Let me stop the Airbyte services. Let me stop it. So I'll do a docker compose stop. Let me stop the Airbyte. You can see I did that from the Airbyte directory. Don't forget. So after I've done this will get busy downloading the images and starting up your containers. Let's assume that you already your services have started, right, successfully. If we go here and do localhost colon 880, 8,000 for Airbyte, 8080 is for Airflow, and run it, it will it will show up Airflow. But but I've not started my own services because I didn't run the command, so it won't show up. So since I haven't done this before, right? And I already stopped my services. Uh, if I want to start it just the way we started Airbyte, I will ensure that I'm in Airflow directory, that I did the whole setup, and do a Docker compose this way. Start Docker compose start. I'm just going to start my Airflow services. As you can see, it's trying to start them. You just have to wait for some few minutes. If you go to this place and do Docker PS, you should start seeing services, those Apache Airflow services running. Uh, it's, it's have to finish all these processes, right? I think it's going to start up to like 6 services. So just wait. It's going to start up real soon, real soon. Okay, so while we are waiting for this guy to start, which is going to start real soon, we want to create a new Git or repo, right, for this uh, project. So I'll go to my GitHub account, and when you open your GitHub, you probably have it's showing something like this, something. Uh, I don't know whether you have. So if you don't have GitHub, go and register GitHub and register for GitHub, and then when you're signed in, just go to home. Let's go to home. Maybe you have something like this. Yeah, these are the top repositories that I have. So let's click on new to create a new repository. So new, I give it a repository name. Let's say MDS. Let's say MDS. Uh, MDS series 1. Let's call it MDS series 1. Give it a description if you want, right? Then make it public. But if you want to make it private, just to you and some people that you share this repo with, let's include a README, and I think the the master branch is set to main. If you want to give it another name, you can do that, but you can leave that. Then create repository. So this is going to serve as the repository for our project. So um, you create your own using your account similarly, and this is going to be the repository to use. So I can we can clone the repository on a local and put the necessary files that we are working on from there, push, so that I can have everything documented in here. And definitely we are going to be using it for our CI/CD and our hosting of the documentation of our project, including the DBT, definitely including the DBT transformation and modules, right? So I believe our Airflow should have started up. Let me go back to the previous tab and reload this page. Oh, good. So user is Airflow. I think password is also Airflow. You can change it also password is also airflow. So you can see it's going to open up and you are going to have these DAGs there, right? So it means that your airflow is up and running. Active means those those uh those DAG that you like you've played, more like you've played them, whether they have a schedule or something like that, they are already active. If I pause it, it will not be under active. So you can see that the active and the pause makes up for all the DAGs. So majority of them are example DAGs. If you don't want those example DAGs to show, you can modify your Docker Compose or YAML file and shut down the services and build the Airflow image again. When you save the Docker Compose YAML file, you shut down the services, then you build the Airflow uh, image again so that it adds those changes. So you will only have the DAGs that you just created, and these multiple DAGs that are example DAGs will not show up. So that is that. Since you have successfully set up our Airflow, and also definitely your Great Expedition and DBT are also installed with it. So if I go back to my terminal, you can see that they've started, and if you go back to Bash, do Docker PS, you see those services. So there are about 6 of them, as I said. So uh, that's by the way, and I wanted to mention something, which was this this guy I was talking about, this .dbt part. So if you want this guy to show up, what you need to do is go to your terminal, right? You know, we created a virtual environment at first when we were doing this, uh, the first video, right? I think that's when we did creating the virtual environment. And we have created a virtual environment called MDS underscore env. So let's see the increase. Definitely, you have to be on your C drive if you're using Windows. If you're using Mac, just continue that particular directory. Just say cd mds env, sorry, env rather. So you're there, you activate it, you already know how to activate. Script slash activate for bash, for Mac users, you know how to do that. Then the environment is activated. You can take the DBT version because we have already done this before. DBT version, to know the version of DBT that is running. You already done that before, you don't. So you don't need to install. We've installed this in the previous episode. So now, what you now need to do is to initialize a DBT project. So because you have not initialized a DBT project, you will not see that directory, this guy. This part will not exist. And don't forget, this will not be exactly be the same as yours. If single 14 is my own user, your own user is going to be different. For Mac user, you will not have something like C, something like that. You have like slash user, the user, but this .dbt will just be followed by your username, just that pattern, right? So this usually take time to just return the version. That's just the way it behaves. So you can see it's we have dbt installed, we have Snowflake plugin. So what you now need to initialize dbt a single dbt project. If you have not done that before, you have to do it. So you now say dbt init, then specify a project name. So you can just give it a you can call it dbt test project. You're just doing this just to have that part that I mentioned. We are not going to be using this. We are going to be creating a different project entirely. So when you do this, it's going to request for some details from you. It's going to just give it random this thing, right? So it said, which database would you like to use? Because I only installed one adapter, so it's showing only Snowflake. If you have multiple adapters, it's going to show number one this, number two that. So I'm going to choose Snowflake, number one. Then it's going to ask you another thing. what account is usually this format, something, 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 just to, when we get there, I will show you what it is like, right? This dot snowflakecomputing.com, you don't have to put that actually. So let me just say test dot abc dot xyz. I just want to put a random value. That's not. So username, let me call it test. What I want to use password, so I'll select one. Password, let me just put something, password. Goal, I can put test, just a random thing. Warehouse test, database test, schema test, thread, so one. Now, by the time you do that, you see this line. Say provide DBT test project waiting to what? So. You can see waiting to this part slash profiles.yaml file. This is what you're looking for. This guy. From here to this. That is the part that you're looking for. Right? That is what you now take to replace what I have here. But that's what you take to replace what you have here. But note that the way it is written here is this slash and there's a colon. But here you can see the way I wrote it. You don't need, you have to write it in this format. But what is important is that you can see the directory that you need. You can see you have C, then followed by users, then your user. My own is thing with 14, then slash .dbt. That is what you need. It has already been created now. You can now put it there. So we're going to stop here for now. And what in the next video we're going to set up we should be setting up our Snowflake account and probably set up a Google Cloud just to set up GCS, right? But probably that can even wait. That can wait for a later time. But most importantly, Snowflake. Then we okay. Let's hold up on Snowflake because as 30 days free trial, I want you guys to be able to like explore things and stuff like that later. So we're gonna start with exploring with oh, we have to set up Snowflake. Oh, good. Yeah, I have to set up Snowflake. So you set up Snowflake, then we can also do the setting up of sources and destination, configuring your if time permits, configuring your Snowflake for users and warehouse, all of those things, right? I'm going to show you how to do that and then we go from there. So thank you for joining this session. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell to get notified when a new video is released. Thank you for joining, for watching this session. See you guys again next time. Thank you. Bye and stay safe.